Welcome to the Stars Aligned Dramas and Dreams podcast, where the infinite sky meets the starry world of dramas. We're your guides to the cosmos, from heart-stopping queer love stories to straight dramas of unexpected love.
And every unforgettable moment in between that make us swoon, laugh, and cry. And, of course, we'll sprinkle in a little stardust along the way.
I'm Nixie, your drama enthusiast ready to break down the best, and sometimes most, chaotic storylines, filming techniques, and the worlds we can't stop obsessing over.
And I'm Cyrus, here to delve into characters, themes, and symbolism that invoke emotions that resonate with us in powerful and lasting ways.
Each week, we'll explore the stellar journey of love, identity, and connection, one drama and one dream at a time. Today we orbit the series Satellite, where we discuss everything a series has to offer. Our satellite this week is orbiting Fangs of Fortune.
So, gather your stardust, find your spot under the stars, and let's dive in.
Let's begin by taking a look into the stars, where we take a closer look at the synopses that captivate us and the stars on and off screen who make every moment shine. Join us this week as we stargaze into the captivating world of Fangs of Fortune.
But before we can stargaze deeper, we must start by discussing the basics. Fangs of Fortune is a 2024 Chinese wuxia produced by iQIYI. The show can be watched on iQIYI and has 34 episodes with a duration of 45 minutes each, which makes it approximately 25 hours and 30 minutes long.
The synopsis reads, during the Xinyan era, the accidental death of the Baizi goddess, who governed the realms of humans and demons, caused the disappearance of the Baizi order, leading to chaos from rampant demon beasts. In response, the demon leader, Zhao Yan, disguised as Zhao Yanzhou, volunteers to help form a demon hunting bureau. Wen Zhao, suspicious of Zhao Yanzhou, joins the bureau alongside with her childhood friend, Zhao Yiqian, a skilled detective and swordsman, the aloof archer Pei Sijing, and the timid doctor Bai Jiu. Together they confront demon beasts from the classics of mountains and seas and uncover the truth behind their violent actions. As they face great responsibility and personal loss, with their friendship and the love between the top demon beast and the goddess overcome the challenges they face. Adapted from the classic text and the mythology and geography collection Classics of Mountains and Seas. Very novel-esque setup, to be honest.
I would agree with that, yeah.
With the style of, especially the second paragraph, about like how Wen Zhao is suspicious of Great Demon, essentially, and then it just lists everyone else on the team, and then like they just go through about like looking into the beast from mountains and seas, right? And to me, that just kind of felt a little bit like some of the other synopses we read that were novel based originally, which is ironic considering this series is based off of a collections and like unlike the others, which were actual novel adaptations, this is just like collected pieces put together for the screen. So like it wasn't written in a novel. You can't go and buy Fangs of Fortune in a novel form. Not exactly. Not like that. Like it was straight up taken from classics, mythology, and like other things put together, slapped into a screenplay, and made into a series, which impressed. It's really good.
Very impressive, yeah. Especially since it's done so well.
And like it's not even the first time that happens. Like no, that happens all the time. People take classics and pieces of books and they put it together. Like the Jekyll and Hyde gets used a lot, referenced a lot in things. Because of the pull between yourself and like everything. There's so many other literatures that get used in things and put into a series without ever needing a novel to start it. And so that's very much possible. But I will say Fangs of Fortune, very impressive one. It turns out really well. It makes me question how long they had been working on it. Both the screenplay and like the actual like getting it together for the production. But as for the synopsis, I don't have much to say that it's bad or good, because I think it, like I said, it definitely delivers, unlike some synopses before. But I just really wanted to point out that it was kind of very novelesque, and I kind of actually think it fits the tone very well for the series.
I agree. Even though they always leaving out our boy Yinglei. He's a central part of the crew.
Oh,
He's a part of the squad.
I'm gonna rant
everyone
about that.
Forgets.
I will be ranting about that later because I was so mad. So mad. I love this man. He is like, besides Baby Jew, he is like one of my favorite characters. And I was so mad about so many things in the series while watching him be with that group. Okay, that can be brought up later. That can totally be brought up later, and it will.
Trust me, Nixie will bring it up again.
He just wanted, he's just a little demon god that wanted to be a cook. Okay, leave the man. He just wanted to be a chef. He just wanted to explore the world and cook. I love that baby.
Yes, absolutely. The stars that guide Fangs of Fortune shine brightly. Let's meet the cast and crew who make it shine. The main cast includes Neo Hao as Xiaoyan Zhao, who we will be calling Great Demon throughout the episode, Qindu Ling as Wen Chao, Tian Jiale as Xiao Yi Chen, and Cheng Zhao as Pesa Jing. The prevalent supporting cast includes Lester Lin as Baiju, who we will be referring to as Baby Ju throughout the rest of the episode, Shu Zhenjin as Yinglei, Yanan of Pentagon as Li Lun, and Lei Weiming as Pesa Hing. There were 3 directors of this show, Edward Go, who worked on a lot, but the only thing I personally even recognize even a little bit is the fact that he was a screenwriter for Ice Fantasy. Lu Lao, who I'm not personally familiar with on anything she's worked on. And finally, Wenan, who this was only the 3rd production he's ever worked on, and again, I don't recognize any of them, unfortunately. The costume designer was Huang Wei, and she's worked on Till the End of the Moon and also Back from the Brink.
And while there were a lot more talented people who worked on this show, we unfortunately do not have the time to talk about everyone, but we would like to further highlight some of our thoughts about the cast and crew.
Always happy to see a new How drama. That boy's precious.
This is like the second one we've done a podcast over that had Neo How in it. But it's not the first or the third, or sorry, it's not the first or the second one that we've done that involved us talking about Neo How.
Yeah.
Because we brought him up in so many others for like Back for the Brink, which also gets mentioned here, which is wild. But yeah, crazy that Back from the Brink Until the End of the Moon. We have the costume designer for those
She
again
does
for this
so
one.
good. So good.
Which makes so much sense. Oh my god. I was very impressed with the series. Like the way it was done, the way the tone is dealt and everything. I think the crew did a really good job with that.
Absolutely, yeah. I will say that, like, as I was going through reading it, like, a lot of times we will, like, skim over the scripts together to kind of, like, gather our thoughts and, like, figure out, like, what we're gonna do. Somehow, Nixie, glazed over the Ice Fantasy part, because as soon as I said that, she was like, "Forgot about that." And, like, honestly,
It's been a while. I'm not even sure that's correctly marked on my drama list as, like, attempted to have seen. Because I have not finished that one.
no, it's, like, 60-something episodes. Wild.
Not the longest I've ever watched of a
Not
series,
but it's still
at
long.
the time it would have been. But what I was going to say, though, my next comment about this was going to be, it was interesting to see Duling in a lead role. Like, she was in a main role until the End of the Moon, but she was still technically, like, below in terms of, like, the main couple for Till the End of the Moon. In this one, she was, like, the direct one. Now, to be fair, she was technically the main one, but also with the other, like, 5 or so, maybe 4, I don't know, other 4, but she still had a pretty direct main role in her position in the story.
And, like, there are so many, like, side characters with, like, actors that I'm like, "Hey, I know you," which was very fun. Even though Riley Wong's character, I wish I could remember what his character's name in the show was. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was close.
It was something like Ray.
It was close to Riley, and it's also close to my younger brother's name, so it threw me off the entire time.
I love seeing that man. I've
I
seen him in
love
quite a
Riley
few
Wong.
dramas, so it was really a surprise when he showed up, and I was like, "Oh my god, Riley Wong, Riley Wong!" Like, I was so excited, and it wasn't like I had seen him recently. I think the other series I had seen him was Back from the Brink previously, and so it was kind of cool, just like I said, to have him in the series and be completely different type of character too, as well.
Yeah.
Like, starkly different from Back from the Brink, personality-wise. But I was still happy to see him regardless.
We've set the stage, and now it's time to delve deeper into Fangs of Fortune. Spoilers ahead as we start with Drama Deep Dive.
Let's jump into a drama deep dive, where we navigate an analysis of key scenes, character arcs, plot twists, and emotional gravity that pull us deeper into the stories we love. There is so much that can be said about this drama.
We'll spend way too long here and still not touch on half of what happens.
For sure. And you know, one of my favorite things about this series, and before getting deeply into like the plot and stuff, I'm going to get into the tone, but also the characters to a certain degree. And I love the tone of the series because it's very dark, but it has a very good comedic relief coping style to it, to the point that I love all of like, this would be a great series, and it has been done clearly, but there's currently a trend going on as the moment in time that we're making this podcast, where it's like the mentality of a show, right? And it's like a lot of like stupid comments, and then it goes dung, and then moves on to the next like one, because it's just like, that's so dumb, so funny of a comment. This show had so many of those, because there's so many times the characters, just their personalities were like, for example, like one of like the opening scenes, it's in the first episode, and it is the introduction between and conflict between Great Demon and Yi-Chan. And it is a whole battle between each other. Like, they, not battle, but like they draw, well, Yi-Chan draws his sword out on Great Demon, and Great Demon just uses his little umbrella to just like go around this man. And then he ends up getting stabbed in like the shoulder, I think it was, by Yi-Chan. And they're having a conversation with each other while this is happening. And originally Yi-Chan hadn't done anything yet. One, because he doesn't know his full potential to use the sword to even kill Great Demon, so it wouldn't have done anything. And two, because he gets stopped by, I think, like the actual like general or whatever, like someone, like, I don't remember, the person of the actual borough like ends up stopping him. Is like, hey, stop. He's like, he's kind of welcomed here to a certain degree, which did not settle well with Yi-Chan. But as he has him stabbed and stuff like that, he makes comments about like how Great Demon is like, yeah, you're a white monkey. And he's like, correction, white ape. And then he like digs it deeper, the sword, Yi-Chan digs the sword deeper into his shoulder. And he's like, okay. Monkey. like the mentality of the series is so hilarious, and I love the tone. I love how like it's definitely dark a lot of the times, but then there'll be something that comes up and the characters just like make comments that are like kind of offhand that I will say some people didn't like, but like it's coping. Like, it's going to come off like, why is this awkward? It's really not. Like, let's be real, they're saying the thoughts a lot of people have at certain moments, okay? And so that to me is, I love that.
I agree. I think without the like humor as a coping mechanism, this show would be so much harder to get through, because there's a lot of bummer in this show.
A lot. Imagine a show where you're just like, like you're just bummed out the entire show.
Like, they gotta lighten it somehow, and you know,
they sure lightened it several times it was
very fun.
Or how about this one's more direct comedy than rather subtle, but like another funny moment was like when Great Demon went to like recruit baby Jew, he like shows up, scares the crap out of this poor little baby, like, which we do later find out, I don't think he was as scared as he pretended to be honest, because like we find out plot wise that he ends up being trying to seal off all his senses, the Great Demon's senses, but minus that. Ignore that. Like the introduction was like he scares him and whatnot, and so like we get the impression that baby Jew is like terrified of a Great Demon, and so like he comes through the doors at the bureau and he's like, oh my god, haven't you heard about the Great Demon? He's like skin of green or something, and like he makes like all these comments about like how he's hideous and whatnot. Great Demon, mind you, is walking right behind him listening to all of this go down. And so they walk up to the top of the stairs. Wen Chao comes out and like greets Baby Jew, and then, what are you doing here, Great Demon? And Baby Jew's like, what? He's like, yeah, Great Demon, and then like points to Great Demon, and he just starts, he like faint quotation marks, and then falls down the stairs, and then just proceeds to keep rolling, to the point that at first the two were concerned, and then they were like, oh my god. They realized what was happening, and so Great Demon goes over, picks him off the ground as he's screaming his life, like screaming for his life. And the next thing you know, it's just a shot with Wen Chao in the middle between Baby Jew on one side and Great Demon on the other side. And she's like, he's really not that bad. And he's like, you should tell him that. And then it goes to like Great Demon's face, and he goes, rawr. He just like growls at him, and it's just so stupid. But I love it so much. I love the comedy placement.
It's very good.
This
it's
series.
Very fun.
It's just so good. Like we've talked about it before, like the times that comments would be made in front of Great Demon without like Yi Chen or someone else being around, and next thing you know, he makes a comment about Yi Chen not being that great, and he's like over there sneezing, like someone is, and realizing like someone's got to be talking about me. Like I love those scenes so much. It's so good. So I love the comedy that's placed in this series, and the comedy that surrounds the characters and how their personalities are. Beautiful. Someone could send me the mentality videos all day and I never get enough. Like it's that trend fits this series so well, because the amount of times things like that would happen in comments that would be made, and it was just like, bruh. Like, what was that? It's so good. But like moving on a little bit to getting back into the story plot. Well, since it got brought up, it wasn't intentionally, but it got brought up, Baby Jew's involvement, which is wild considering he was under suspicion at one point. And I feel so bad because he gets put on the ropes because I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Great Demon. I think it was when Chao actually started realizing something was up with Baby Jew. And they were like, okay, so he's got to have a mark on his arm because Pei Siqing said that was like, that was a sign you were in, like, I forgot what she was a part of, but she was a part of what they were trying to find who the spy was from, which she was also thrown into the mix a little bit there, but like she kind of proved her innocence to a certain degree. And so it all turns to Baby Jew, who did hide that he actually had that, because he did have it on his arm. And I feel so bad because Yingle was like, it's so rude of you to accuse this little baby. How mean are y'all? Y'all are all like coming on him and whatnot. And like he proves that he quote unquote doesn't have it, but he does. And Baby Jew locks himself up in his room, and everyone comes to try to apologize. Like literally everyone except Yi Chen, which is unfortunate because Baby Jew absolutely looked up to Yi Chen and heard his bells when he came to the door. But because he didn't knock or say anything and just left, he was kind of heartbroken, to the point that, back to the comedy, the next day he wakes up and walks out with everyone like fixing food, and like, Yingli being like, I'm making your favorite like chicken and whatnot, like trying to like cheer him up. And he's like being happy. He's kind of being nice to everyone. And then he gets to Yi Chen and he's like so cold to him. And Yi Chen's so confused. And the Great Demon's over here like, look, you upset him, man. It looks like you got something. It looks like it's your fault. He's like, at this point, he was like, I don't remember the exact words, but it was hilarious in whatever he phrased it as. But he was essentially being like, looks like it's a you problem, not a us problem. You're the one that's gonna have to fix this. It's like, it's a you thing. But then to later having gone through that suspicion, and then later it actually get revealed that it was Baby Jew, which unfortunately, I didn't want to believe it.
Same.
But I did see it. He fit the bill the most in like situations and things. Like it really, like it unfortunately was. I will also say I did also unfortunately predict that he was also technically a tree.
Yeah.
And so, and then for him to like build such a bond with the group that he ended up portraying his original goals and everything, and going back on it. And I can't remember how, because I don't think he achieved it himself. How, it's been a while. How did Great Demon get his senses back? I will say they made a huge mistake there, because wasn't their goal of sealing off the Great Demon was to get his powers? But the problem is the
It
fact
was
that he
the
was.
ever-burning wood that they were trying to get.
That's right. That's right. I could have sworn it was his powers, but I guess it wasn't. But the problem is that triggered literally the seal that was like keeping him like his what was it? It was essentially like, I guess in this sense, I feel like in Chinese dramas there's always like these higher beings that are like, especially when it comes to like, the evil ones that are like even higher than like characters themselves. So I think that was kind of what it was. It was like the true like demon lore kind of thing, and he had been like sealed off, and when they sealed his senses off, it kind of brought him forth, and so the man was struggling to keep himself like locked behind a seal and whatnot. And then for baby Jew, more plot things were going in here, who not only went through everything he went through to like turn around and like want to help the group, but also kind of get possessed by Li
Yeah.
Lun, turn around, get Yi Chan to try to like go after Great Demon, which, oh my god, was a bad mood because Great Demon was not Great Demon. And I don't remember how he broke out of it, but he did, clearly, at some point. I think Baby Jew. No, Baby Jew, didn't he make a cure that Wen Chao was able to get to him? Because Li Lun said that he needed to put like a needle in his forehead, if I remember correctly. He needed to get it there. Or maybe he needed a piece of blood. I don't remember what it was. China sometimes usually just draws blood of the forehead. But he needed that to succeed, while Baby Jew made the herb or whatever that Wen Chao, don't remember how, but somehow got to Great Demon. So there's a lot of, I'm sorry, that is a lot of random plots to bring up. And I kind of jumped around a little bit. There's a lot of other things that
So much
happened
happens in this
that,
show.
oh,
Genuinely.
that was Baby Jew. We could get into so many
Mhm.
character
The
stories,
Pei
like
siblings, oh
the
my
Pei
gosh.
siblings, the past lives, Li Lun's
Mhm.
relationship with Great Demon, Great Demon's relationship with Yi Chan, Yi Chan's relationship with his brother, and then with Baby Jew.
So
Like there are
much. Mhm.
so many ties that are just put together in this series, and or not even just those, like even like supporting characters. Like how about the
Mhm.
original Baizu goddess and what's his name to compare to the Great Demon and Wen Chao, like their lives, or gosh, there's so many. Or like even like the Riley Wong's character and like the river, like
Mhm.
the fish, whatever, because he was a fish demon. His situation with the brides and whatnot. But like, oh, there's so much to be said about this series, and it's beautifully written. I would love, if I probably will never because I don't rewatch things, but if I could rewatch things and had like the mindset of being able to, I would love to rewatch it with the new mindset
Yeah.
of how it plays out, to see all the things that they threw in that link to the final like destination of the series.
Oh, another kind of like side arc, I guess, is like Faye's plague. That
Yes.
that
I
broke my
forgot about
heart.
that.
That entire arc is really sad.
Because like he blamed himself for her getting trapped, but in reality she
Yeah.
asked for that. She asked for that punishment. Because she would rather him be able to like still live among people and whatnot. Like, because like as long as they're trapped together, his
Yeah.
plague wouldn't spread, essentially. Otherwise, he was gonna be sent back. And she knew how much he liked the, it wasn't freedom being locked up, but it was freedom in
Mhm.
terms of what he used to have, because he wouldn't have anyone back where he back in their world. And so, oh,
The fact that like they technically both do die by the end of the series. 'Cause, like Faye
unfortunately,
is like killed like within like at the end of like their arc, and then the I feel really bad. I don't remember her name, but the bird demon
hmm
is killed. Um, kind of like towards the end when she's brought back to try to help defeat the big bad at the end.
Yeah, so that was a good one. I didn't forget about it, but I low-key forgot about it, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know what I mean? Because there's so much that happens. It's so
Yeah,
easy. It's so hard to
absolutely.
remember everything. But that was a good one too. But because I got to talk about him, and because he got brought up back in the beginning when we were talking about the cast and stuff, or not the cast. I think we were talking about the synopsis. Which
yeah.
one did it happen in? Because he got brought up back in the synopsis. Ying
Yingley, my boy.
For starters, loved this man
Oh,
the moment he
absolutely.
practically appeared, even with his beard and all. He was so chaotic. The fact that this man ends up getting controlled by a great demon, his one word spell, so easily. Like, this man has so much confidence. He's like, why are you being so loud on, like, the temple grounds and whatnot? And he's, like, trying to be, defensive and stuff like that. And they're like, we're not threats. He's like, how do I know you're not a threat? And whatnot. And then he ends up going against the great demon, ends up immediately going on his knees. And afterwards was like, okay, you know what? I'm just a baby. Like, don't come for me. And like, they end up using like his like space travel because he's able to not time travel, but like travel, teleport. That's what I was trying to say. Teleport locations. And oh my god, him being introduced, like he was a demon god, like essentially a demigod / demon that just wanted to be a cook. Okay, he wanted to travel the world, taste cuisines. Ends up tagging along with the bureau, and what made me mad is that they invited him because they're like, you know what, we could use a chef. You could join us and whatnot. And he's like, bet. Okay, he joined them. And then throughout the series, they continue along, and anytime it brought up the group, they would word it as 5. I would immediately go, back up.
Yinglei's important.
6, not 5. I was like, I hated that they didn't prioritize this poor baby.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the end. Like, all the way to the point, like, when they had, like, the visions about one went into, like, the future and one went into the past. We saw the past, and we only saw pieces of the future because we knew it was going to end up the same, essentially. And they get asked by one of them, one of the past ones. I forgot their names. I'm so sorry, but it was essentially Yi Chan's equivalent to the past, and because it was his ancestor as well, and brought up, and he's like, yeah, it looks like we made friends, quite a few friends, and the 5 of you guys, and like, because they're talking about how they want to live their life as hopefully the 5 of them, which unfortunately does not happen. But when it happened, I was just so mad. I was like, what about Yingle? Like, you can't just push him to the side. Like, forget the fact that we knew character deaths were coming, because of course we had to have character deaths. Yingle's out of everyone's, like, Baby Jews was dramatic, and it was heartbreaking, and I love that baby. But to me, the most heartbreaking death was Yingle's. Why? Because 1, he sacrificed himself for Baby Jew because he was trying to get Baby Jew back. And 2, like, he held on to Baby Jew when Baby Jew was, like, he held on to that poor baby. Like, that baby was out cold, but he held on to him. And I don't remember if it was Wen Chao or someone, but they came up to him and they're like, yeah, he's fine. Like, give up. Yeah, Yi Chan like came up to him, grabbed him. He's like, he's fine and whatnot. And then he himself, they knew he was fixing to die because of what just happened. And he just, as he's going out, he's like, oh, I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad he's fine. I hope y'all, he's like talking about like how you could tell at this point, he
like
knew
the
he
slow
was gonna
realization
die.
that he's going to die.
He was talking about how, like, yes, because he was like, okay. Because he was like, talking to him and be like, I hope y'all have a wonderful life. I hope you're all able to stay together and whatnot. He's talking about their future. And then he like looks up and like this realization hits him. And he's like, Yi Chan. He's like, I don't want to die.
I'm scared.
Oh. And the way it hit him all of a sudden that he was like, I'm dying. I don't get to recover from this. I can't continue with you guys. Like, I won't be able to live with you guys anymore. And he was so scared. Like, I don't know if he was strong enough to, but I think he tried to grab Yi Chan. Yeah. I think he tried to reach out to, because Yi Chan was the one supporting and listening to this as it was going down. Like everyone else too, but like he was the closest one to him. And he was like, I don't want to go. He's like, I don't want to leave yet. I'm not ready for that. And that was, oh, that broke my heart. And like I told Cyrus, I was like, I don't cry even for character deaths, but this one had, oh my god, I was tearing up badly. Like I had a few tears like go down my face. And I hate that I don't cry even for my favorite characters, but like he had me. Like that was so emotional that I teared up and was like had a few streams, not a lot, but I had a few tears fall, and I was like, "Oh my god, that that death hurt me so much." And I was so mad because I remember when it happened, I bombed the crap out of Cyrus's phone about his death because I was like, "How dare you?" And at the time, you hadn't seen the series, so I was trying to keep it as anonymous as I could. But I think you knew very well who had died because you knew my favorite characters and the ones I loved the most. So I think you knew very well. I even made like comments, like I wasn't trying to be direct with it, but I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Why'd you do this to my baby?" He was so ready to accept it, and then he was like, "I'm scared, I can't," and I'm like, "Oh." Not the fear of realization hitting him. Ugh, why'd they have to do that to my baby?
Like that one was rough.
I was so hurt. I will never forgive
This
them
was
for
a show
it.
that I was watching at work, and this is all of my coworkers. Like, don't even bat an eye if I'm just in my back corner desk crying. They all know it's fine. Um, but for this one, like and this has only happened twice, but I was crying so hard that I got up to go to the restroom just to have, a little bit of dignity and privacy. But like, I also just was crying so hard that I threw up because of Yingwei. It was rough.
Yeah, it was a rough death. But yeah, the deaths in this series was so intense, and these definitely I feel like hurt more than some series due to the fact that you kind of got to know the characters a lot more before the
They
deaths
really let you
happened.
sit in them.
Than some of them were like, for sure. And so there's a lot more that we can talk about that goes into characters and plots. But I think we should move on because what we can talk about next is going to lead us a little bit still story, but more into like some certain elements. Having explored drama deep dive, let's shine a light on star-dusted symbolism, where new stars await.
The starry connections between objects and moments and revealing how they shape the characters' past and their stories is explored in Stardusted Symbolism. We're going to kind of expand what this kind of means. We're going to do symbolism plus parallels, just because we wanted to be able to talk about parallels as well. As y'all know,
Because we
we
always
love a
do.
good parallel.
I hope people listen to these and the people who do listen to our podcast start exploring into looking into parallels when they watch stuff if they hadn't already, because they are some of the most, they can be both the most like creative and beautiful things to look into, and if done right, it adds so much to the story, so much. Like, but going into Fangs of Fortune, one of my favorite things Fangs of Fortune did, and I think that does come to the fact that it was pulled from collections of stories and stuff like that, comes down to its philosophy.
Yeah.
That was told through it. And one of my favorite moments in the series is truly a philosophy parallel topic because it takes place around the parallels between the dynamic of the three characters, which is Great Demon, Li Lun, and Yi Chan. And that has to evolve around the idea that technically, ironically, everyone should technically hate each other, minus the Great Demon, who doesn't hate either one of them, and just has a rough relationship with them, with both Li Lun and Yi Chan. But like, there's this parallel that goes on in this story that gets presented at a certain point in the story where this kind of should have been brought up back in the last section, but not really, because it can still be brought up here, was down to the fact that Yi Chan was one of the characters, I think only 1 out of the 5, 6 technically, okay, ended up being human, and that was Pei Sejing. She's the only one that was human, because we later find out that Yi Chan ends up being from a descendant clan that from the dragons. I don't know if it was white dragon, whatever, jade dragon, something like that. And so that's where his, like, the stone in his sword. Now, technically, the demon part of them was gone, and it was essentially the power was stored in the sword, and then it got broken, and it kind of, like, triggered everything, and, like, that's where he evolved a little bit of the abilities and started, like, shifting from a human to a demon. Like, to the point, like, there was no recovery from that. Like, he couldn't go back to being a human, unfortunately. Actually, I think they tried to get him to become human because that's how he ended up at the doorsteps of his
ancestor.
Thank you. My bad. His ancestor, in which we lead down the story of so much other things. But he ends up essentially becoming, for a minute there, he viewed himself as a monster, unfortunately, and so did the public. And his own people viewed him as a monster. And what was such a strong parallel situation that happened was that eventually, after he realizes that he's becoming this and that it ends up going to the public and they all finding out that, the protector, who they actually not really worship per se, but like loved Yi Qian, who they viewed him as like a savior, a like protector of like their village or whatever, turned around, and then they ended up like despising him, being like, oh, you're now a monster. You're basically the great demon. Like, you're like, you're what great demon is, and like throwing things at him and whatnot. And he ends up running away, getting away from, and then he gets found by Li Lun. And we find out that this whole thing that played out, that made Yi Qian who he was, like the breaking of the sword, the everything, like him shattering, because Li Lun's the one that broke his sword and allowed this to happen, was his intention to apparently drag Yi Qian down to Li Lun's level. And Li Lun was like kind of talking to Yi Qian, and they were having a conversation along the lines, and I don't remember the details because, like I said, it's been a while. And the philosophy that comes from this conversation is insane, because Li Lun's like, do you see it now? And Yi Qian, see what? And Li Lun's like, do you understand my situation? Because they treated you as like a hero, and now they treat you like a monster. It's like, do you understand that? Because like he was trying to bring him down more so to the level of demons, because like demons get treated as like as awful beings, and so he wanted him, turning him into a demon, to see and feel how demons feel, because also Yi Chen hated demons, like he despised them, and so he wanted to bring the person who hated demons the most down to the level of a demon to make him see how demons are, because poor Li Lun, when he discovered how poorly demons were treated, that's where his anger came from. And so he realized that humans, or his eyes, humans didn't see demons as like other living beings. They saw them as something that they should just kill on sight. And so he was bringing Yi Chen down to this level, and he's like, do you understand it now? And like they talk, I don't remember the exact description, but he's like, I wish I could remember it, but it was something like wine glasses and this. And Yi Chen like spites back a little bit, because he's like, unfortunately, because I think he says something that they treat you with wine glasses, but now they treat you with swords, or now swords. And he's like, that's true, but wine glasses and that is still a way for evil to go unchecked. And so like he kind of goes against, and this just triggers Li Lun a little bit. And he still urges, there's a little, because I think he ends up like, I think Yi Chen ends up shoving him straight into the water at one point, like launching him into it. And Li Lun comes back, but he's like, you've got to, but at the same time, you've got to understand me now. Like, cause she's like, you've fallen this low. And Yi Chan's like, no, I don't. He says, you know what you remind me of? You remind me of a mirror. You remind me of the abyss. And Li Lun's like, but the abyss has an end. And he's like, you're right. But if I never let myself step into that abyss, it's never an abyss to begin with. It's never something I can become. Like, I will not, if I don't let myself go to that level, I won't. And then to like rub more salt into the wound for Li Lun, he said, you tried to make me see you and understand you. I cannot do that. And I do not understand you, but I do now understand Great Demon, because the ridicule that Yi Chen goes through, he realized was the same thing Great Demon had to go through. And he was like, I don't understand you, but I understand the Great Demon now, and the hate I had for him, it's still there, but it's not as strong anymore because I have a much more sympathetic. I understand what he's gone through.
Which only pissed Lilun off more.
Oh, it did. It did. And to the point that this man turns around, removes his, like, I forgot what it's called, but it's like it's the ability to see Lilun essentially. As Lilun. And he removes it and calls out to Yi-chan as Baby Jew. Yi-chan looks back temporarily and then walks away because he's like, I'm not gonna give you that attention. I'm not gonna give what you're wanting, because he also knows, unfortunately, that's not Baby Jew, that's Lilun. And there's so much in this series that is,
it's so good,
intense, and like it's a lesson in a lot of it. I was obsessed with that scene. That scene was one of my favorite scenes in the series when it came down to like the words and what was said in the conversation. Like, I love what Yi Chan had to say to Lilun about being a mirror and about how I won't fall into an abyss that I don't let myself step into and stuff like that. And it
is very good.
It's such a good scene. And I really wanted to bring up in this section because, like, that's like more than three to a certain extent, parallels wrapped up in one single scene alone. Because it's the parallel Lilun was trying to create between Lilun and Yi-chan, but instead we get the parallel between Yi-chan and Great Demon. Technically, if you want to add a third one, there's also, like, if you want to view their dynamics as parallels, because those kind of come off as that way to a certain extent as well. But the main two is those representations between the characters, for sure. Oh, I guess Lilun and Great Demon's a parallel on its own, because it's the two different outcomes for the same thing that happened, essentially. Because they both kind of went through the same thing, but played off differently, because one veered off in a little bit more corrupted, and the other one was, like, trying to be more injustice, but kind of also ended up in a very ridiculed way. So, like, it's handled differently. So that's a parallel on its own. And so, like, there's, and then it branches out from that to things like the siblings, or things like the past lives, or things like the Bites the Goddess, like the original one.
There are a lot of parallels in the show, but we want to talk a little symbolism. Honestly, both of us were obsessed with the symbolisms that the bells that both Yi-chan and Baby Jew wore in their hair, because like they meant so much to these characters. Is it done? No, but I was so obsessed with it that like I have the beginnings of an outline of like an academic like a literary criticism media criticism essay over like the connections that Yi-chan and Baby Jew have and how it revolves around these bells. Is I probably at this point won't write it, but if I ever do, I'll post it somewhere. Like, we talked a lot about like the bells, like even like before I watched it, Nixie had like sent like text to me about it, and then like once I started watching, I was like, this is I like this. This is a dynamic I can get behind. But in my notes, I have the contrast between Yi-chan's and Baby Ju's bells is quite stark, one out of concern and love, and the other out of love and fear, respectively, is rather interesting, especially when you factor in Yi-chan sees his younger self in Baby Ju because of them, while Baby Ju finds comfort in Yi-chan's. This is a kind of dynamic detail that I could go on and on about because I find it so fascinating when examined individually as a pair and in relation to each other and the connection they crave and the loss they both experience. Sorry, I'll stop. And like, I didn't stop because I have a whole outline that went more in detail. I just thought I was being annoying, so I pulled back. It is a like fascinating dynamic to like look into because like there's a lot there, especially like whenever Baby Jew like needs like comfort, like he will like cling to Yi-chan, and it's typically him like grabbing his hair where the bells are held.
Oh my god, yes.
And like them being able to like have the comfort of being able to know where the other is, like, by hearing it.
Though, quick side comment though. Speaking of him like grabbing his hair, just a little comment. I was obsessed with the fact that Baby Ju took a liking to Yi Chan, while Yingli took a liking to Baby Ju. And so when he would try to get Baby Ju's attention, and when he would unsuccessfully do so, he would, like, for example, he would see Baby Ju like grab his hair, and Ying Li would literally grab his own, and like he would get frustrated and he would bite it because he's like, oh, like if only it was me, kind of thing. To the point that the few times that Baby Ju tried to go with Yi Chan, Yingli stepped in and said, well, nope, it's us two, and then dragged this man away screaming. And it's so funny to me. It's so cute. I loved those two. But back to the bells. I just want to make a comment because you made a comment about him grabbing his hair, and I wanted to bring that was also a thing as well. Again, why I absolutely love those two,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
especially Yingli.
Like, the bells even carry, like, to Baby Ju's death when, like, he dies, like, gripping, like, Yi Chan's, like, bells that he took tightly, like, as he was dying, and, like, having to watch Yi Chan realize that he's too late to save Baby Ju, and, like, having to like, feeling, like, the need to, like, pry the bells out of his hands to be able to, like, still have, like, that connection to him, even, like, after death, broke me. Like, that was oh, I was not prepared for that one.
Of course not. It was Baby Ju's death. I'll
Yeah,
never
like,
forgive him
they
for the deaths in
as
this
heartbreaking
series.
as they were, like, they're so memorable because of, like, the way, like, the emotional weight that each one of them holds. It makes me so sad that, like, out of the entire group, like, the youngest 3 are the ones who, like, kind of end up dying. Like, I say youngest 3, like, technically Yinglei is older than a lot of the other ones, but he's presented as, like, in the younger group. It's like Yinglei, his death, Baby Ju's death, and then also Pesa Hing's. Just like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't imagine the just guilt that Pesa Jing held, like, after that. Like, that was
Not even after his death, but like after like his main death. Like especially when she found out the truth at one point that he had done all of it not because he wanted to prove that he'd be stronger, because he wanted to be
yeah,
the stronger one to
like,
protect his
ease her
sister.
burdens.
Mm-hmm. Which only
Yeah,
in return made him worse.
like, she already felt guilty because of that, and then to get back even, like, a shard of, like, his soul, only for it to be ripped quite literally away from her again, like, right in front of her eyes. As an older sister, that hurt my soul. We've journeyed through Drama Deep Dive and Stardusted Symbolism, but now let's explore Stellar Soundtrack for one last perspective.
In Stellar's soundtrack, we're tuning into the tracks that make us feel it all. From soaring themes and dramatic OSTs to subtle melodies, let's explore how sound makes storytelling stellar. Love the
We've
OST of
talked
this
about it a
series
lot, just
so
at
much.
random points, but it's so good.
But like, there's so much that can be said about the OST for the series. Like, I think I mentioned in that episode talking about like what song was it? Big Dream or something like that. I think that translated something like that. How powerful that one, how that one felt in the story, and how most of the time it would get used when a there'd be a turn in the tables, like a turn in the tides between into usually not always,
Yeah.
but usually in the favor of the protagonist. So in Great Demon and Wen Chao and stuff like that, and it just impacted the story so beautifully. Or like other OSTs wise, my favorite element in like a series like this is when not only, and this isn't necessary, but not only do like the actors sing the songs, but almost every character, the main ones
Mhm.
wise, have their own songs with their own meanings. Like Baby Jews was technically sung by Yi Chan's actor, because I don't believe Baby Jew didn't have one directly sung by him, but we did get his, and I think it's like Bird something. I need to look up the
I know they're all
names.
in
But like,
Chinese on Spotify, so
yeah, so that doesn't help at all. But like, and a lot of times these songs would be used when we're going into a character arc situation with that character, and it would line up so beautifully, as well as it should, because it's written for the character and usually a lot of things they're struggling with. Or Baby Jews got used a lot when we were in his backstory, like with him like locked in the closet, stuff like that. His would get used. Yi Chan's would definitely get used during his depressive states.
yeah.
I don't remember how they used Yingles, only because of the fact that Yingles is a little bit more upbeat of a song. And so I don't think it was particularly
Could
used
you
on his death, for
imagine?
sure. I could be wrong. Yingles is one of
It is good. It's
Yingling's
very
songs
good.
is one of my favorite songs. It's so vibey. I vibe with it. It's so cute.
The Pei siblings theme. That one hurts.
One of my favorite emotional scenes that was used with the OSTs. I'm going to apologize, I could remember which one was used because it could go either way. Because it could either have been Baby Juice or Yi Chan's. But I think it was Baby Juice. And I only say that, the reason I can't remember is because they don't have the same tone, but they have the same tone of songs and it's sung by the same person. So that does not help my memory. And it's been a while. But there is a scene after Baby Juice's death that this song is used in, or maybe it was their main song. I don't remember, but it was one of the emotional pulling songs where Yi Chan keeps seeing illusions of Baby Jew. And how he kind of tries to reach out to Baby Jew, only for Baby Jew not to be there, and for, I don't remember if it was Great Demon or someone else, be like, he's gone. Be like, and have to like try to bring him back for a second, because like he kept seeing the visions of Baby Jew and trying to reach out to him and try to talk to him, like not like intensely like that, but like the song would play over that of him trying to like reach out to him. But so sad.
It's so sad. Honestly, this entire show, and honestly, any wuxia that you watch will be sad.
Part of me is starting to question, are all Shanxios and Wuxiao sad, or do I just keep
That is a
watching a lot of
question that we
sad
could
ones?
be asking. I'm gonna go with the former though. I think all of them are. That just seems more likely. I do think that out of like all of the wuxias I've seen, which the list is growing, this this show's OST album is the one that I listen to, just like the album as in full, the most. I return to this one so much.
Definitely Fangs of Fortune. I come back to it a lot. As we prepare to leave the stars behind, let's gather the stardust of our experience and share our final reflections on Fangs of Fortune.
The show's so good. Just point blank period.
Such a good series. Oh, it has definitely risen to be one of my top favorites, which is ironic considering how I ended up watching the series, because I remember, and I kind of actually forgot about it until I just a moment ago was trying to recall the scene between Li Lun and Yi Chan that I described by going back and listening to one of my recordings, where I accidentally stumbled across the recording of where, when I was trying to decide if I should watch it or not, because apparently I made a recording. I need to know if it's a bad idea or a good idea to start an airing series with Neo Hao in it, because it's a series where I had already been wanting to watch Dashing Youth, the head Neo Hao, but I missed the opportunity to have watched it while it was airing. So I need to know if it was a good or bad idea to start his new fiction airing drama, which was Fangs of Fortune at the time. And I was like, it's like 2 episodes every single day, yada yada. And then you were like, go for it. And so here we are. And I ended up falling in love with the series. Like, I hadn't even really seen the trailer for it. I was just like, he's in a new series. I hear it's supposed to be good. Should I watch it? And you were like, feel free. And so I did. And I watched, that show I watched while it was airing. I think that show is the first show Chinese wise that I actually got to watch while airing, and like got to actually feel the process of watching something that releases every single day. Can we talk about the fact that
This show is
Fangs of
so queer.
Fortune, how was this a
It's so
straight
queer coded.
series? Like, yes, I will 100% state that it was definitely over just how deeply a platonic relationships can be, and we bring that up in the Jin episode.
We go in depth.
That's really what it was. But there are so many things in this that is so queer-coded. Like the interactions, for example, like the stuff that Yi-chan and Great Demon would say, the love that Wen Chao had when Pesa, like she would light up when Pesa Jing would come into play. Like there's literally a scene where she gets locked up, or like, because I think she ran into like baby Jew. I think she ended up like whatever staying in his house, and so she was alone there. And next thing you know, they start showing up, and I think the first person that shows up was Great Demon, and she's like, "Oh, okay, hey." And then Pesa Jean comes out, and she's like, "Hey."
They were so cute.
I was so rooting for all of them. There was even a scene where they get frozen in the ice, right? They get frozen and they end up going into like where they get to see like the past and like future kind of thing. And for starters, that whole interaction, and then when they come back to, my immediate thought as they were like reuniting with them after they froze was like, I was like, I was watching the screen and I was like, make it poly, make it poly, make it poly. Like, you know what? Frick it. All four of them. Like, I was like, go for it. I don't care if the relationship would just be where like maybe Wen Chao and Yi Chan like each other. And like, I don't think Wen Chao like Yi Chan though. So I think it would be Yi Chan likes Wen Chao, but Wen Chao doesn't like Yi Chan back. But Yi Chan probably would develop feelings for Great Demon at some point, okay? And Great Demon's a little bisexual, so like he's with with Wen Chao, who's also bisexual, because Paisaging is just here for Wen Chao. Like that's how the dynamic I would see as a whole poly thing if it was, okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry for those who just heard that. Look, I thought about it a little bit. I've thought about it just a little bit. But in most people normal senses, it was like Paisaging and Wen Chao together, and Great Demon and Yi Chan. Though sometimes it was Great Demon and Li Lun. Which I'm not against a poly for those three either. Honestly, I'm not going. Yeah. Fucking everyone loves everyone. Okay. I'm kidding. But like, and then Baby Ju and Yingle are like the kids. Okay, that's what it is. So they're a big family, like, and the kids are Baby Ju and Yingle.
Parenting the babies.
Yes.
Oh god.
I just remember watching this series and just being like, how in the world is this straight? like there was supposed to be a romantic interest between Wen Chao and Great Demon, but in reality, we get like one kiss and it wasn't really a direct kiss either. And I'm like, are we sure this was queer, or were you just like trying to like low-key like skirt around the allegations just to get past censorship? Like, was that what this was?
Kind of felt like it.
It sure felt like it was something else. Obsessed with the series. And if you're not obsessed, then why are you listening to this podcast? Because like, you should be if you're listening to this at this point. If you made it this far.
Yeah.
Through all these spoilers.
Adding to the Great Demon and Yi Chan ship of it all, like in the special episode when like they're trying to like bring back Great Demon from like the last bit of, because like they're like, we can bring him back as long as we have like a shred of his soul, and like Yi Chan goes out on like solo missions to like try to find a shred of his soul, and great links like there's whole montages over it. And only for it, like the special episode, to end with a shard of Great Big Demon's soul coming out of the contract and going not to Wen Chao, but went directly to Yi Chan. And you're telling me that's not husband behavior?
I agree, but to be fair, Yi Chan's the only one that he would have been able to reach and connect to. But I get it. Husband material right there.
Another thing about those two, the entire show is Great Demon like wanting to die and like wanting Yi Chan to be the one who kills him, and Yi Chan being all about it. at the beginning. And he's like, I will, until it gets to the point where he's like, I don't know if I can do it anymore. Because of just, like, the relationship that they build as the show goes on, and they get to know each other. And he begins to understand what happened the night that his brother, his dad, and the bureau, most of the bureau died, knowing that, like, it wasn't, like, while, like, the Great Demon was the one who did it, like, it wasn't him, because of, like, all of the resentment that he's burdened to carry. I love them.
But I love the dynamic so much. The series, it was so well
Yeah,
put together.
absolutely.
And, like,
Mhm.
well thought of between, like, how characters
I
connected to
agree.
each other.
Like, what's even more impressive is when you factor in the way that in each kind of, like, little arc, each, like, case, like, has its own set of, like, supporting, like, side characters, but, like, none of them felt flat either, and that's impressive, especially when, like, there was so many of them.
Definitely would have to agree with that. But overall, beautifully put together story, especially having the material be pieces and not like a full, already at least something in terms of like an actual story plot, if that makes sense, like a novel. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Stars Align Dramas and Dreams podcast, where we meet amongst the stars that illuminate the love stories that light up our universe and connect us all.
If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and share your stardust and thoughts with us. We'd love to hear your comments, favorite moments, or suggestions for what we should explore next.
You can connect with us in the comments or through our socials, as well as our email that are linked in the description. Let's keep the conversation going under the stars.
Until next time, keep dreaming, keep listening, and remember, love always shines brightest in the cosmos.
Bye!
Bye.